Good to go.
Thank you. Before this meeting is called to order, the chair will identify and confirm that all members are present and can be heard. This is an open meeting of the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board. Today is February 1st, 2022. This meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth, given the outbreak of the novel coronavirus. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Excuse me. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required. This meeting is convening by telephone conference, video conference via Zoom app, Facebook Live, etc., as posted on the meeting agenda, identifying how the public may join. Please note this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. Also, the chair, myself, Andrew Lowell, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage with other members in discussion, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. I will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names. And I will also I have a list of all public commentators. I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. I'll take a roll call of attendance tonight. Mr. Brace.
Aye.
Mr. Sidlowski.
Aye.
Mr. Pronk.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bossy.
Present.
Mr. Franzuto.
Present.
And Ms. Andrews, please. Ginger.
There.
Yes, I'm here. I was muted.
All right, thank
I
you.
am now unmuted. Thank you.
Staff, we have in attendance Ms. Riley from Natural Resources.
Here.
Do
Present.
we have Marine Department attendance tonight? Not seeing any. And so far from the public, we have Christopher Bell.
And Kona.
Thank you, Mr. Brace. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board, February 1st, 2022. Can we have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda, please?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. This is Ginger.
Is there a
Mr. Chairman,
second?
this is Tom. I'll second.
Thank you. The motion's made by Ms. Andrews, seconded by Mr. Sidlowski. All in favor, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Mr. Bossy.
Aye.
Mr. Pronk.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Approval of draft minutes, January 18th. Does anybody have any revisions they'd like to suggest?
Let's see. I think there was one typo. This is Ginger. No, I'm not sure where that was. On the third or fourth page in the long discussion of Mr. Lambert's oyster leases, The minutes read as written. Ms. Andrews added that Mr. Lambert's repeated request for more time to get his boat ready and his gear off the bottom of the harbor didn't convince her that he was committed to the task. I believe what I actually said, what his repeated request was for just one more month, didn't inspire confidence. It wasn't that I didn't feel he was committed. I just felt that he wasn't realizing that he wasn't able to complete it.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. You got that, Mr. Brace?
I got that, but I need to say that, not inspired, didn't have the confidence. I mean, or didn't seem like he was committed. I'm just flying through the minutes, and I'm trying not to be a stenographer and get every single word absolutely right and everybody's thought, because I don't have the time, and this is a volunteer gig. So I interpret, I could do the minutes. The Robert's Rules of Orders and the town clerk's office says that the minutes are the, a sense of the meeting. So if I wanted to, I could say, the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board met on such and such a date and discussed harbor and shellfish issues. And I could turn that in, and that would stand. So I apologize for my mistake, but I'm sometimes I'll put things in quotes because it's important that thought is important, but anyway, I'll make the change.
Oh, through you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Brace. I didn't mean to imply criticism. No. I just was disagreeing with your interpretation of what I said, and I realized that happens. So, I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Mr. Brace, your minutes are always very detailed and simple. I can see where Ms. Andrews would like her understanding to be worded.
I'll make the change.
Oh, thank you. Do we have approval of the minutes? Any more revisions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 18th, 2022, please.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. This is Ginger.
I'll second.
Motion's made by Ms. Andrews, seconded by Mr. Bossy. All in favor of approval of the minutes, Mr. Sidlowski?
Abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
All right, Mr. Brace?
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto?
Aye.
Mr. Pronk?
I wasn't at the meeting either, but I did read them. So
Thank you. Chair votes aye. Chairman's report tonight, just a reminder, the 2022 town elections will be coming up. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Brace, seats up this year are Mr. Sidlowski, Mr. Bossy, and Mr. Pronk. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, I'd just like to say, and I'm sure this is on behalf of the rest of the board, that we enjoy serving with all three of you. I hope all three of you decide to run for re-election. It's my pleasure to be here together with you all. I think we form a good board together, a great board, actually. So if any of you are not able to run for re-election, please let us know so that we can advertise diligently for folks to run. Mr. Sidlowski.
Mr. Chair, I'm not going to run for re-election. I picked up a responsibility outside of the board that it takes more time. So I'm not running this time.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I respect that. Thank you, Mr. Sidlowski. Mr. Bossy.
I do intend to run again. However, I'm leaving the day before the ballots are handed. The papers are allowed to be pulled, and I'm arriving back late that night when they return. So I will be mounting a writing campaign as I did last time. So I hope I have all your vote. I will include you on my write-in mailing list.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bossy. Mr. Pronk, any comment?
I should rerun, I guess. Sure.
All right. All right.
So-
Well,
Can I offer a bit of advice?
yes, please, Mr. Brace.
So in addition to Stop and Shop and the dump for collecting signatures, a fantastic place to get signatures is the line to get on the High Line in the morning. And there are always loads of Nantucketers in that line. And if you know a lot of them, you can just sort of stand there and just get everybody to sign. They're all standing there doing nothing. You know, I filled a whole sheet in about maybe 20 minutes by being there.
Great advice, Mr. Brace. Thank you. And I imagine you have a copy of the letter you submit to the editor every year, which drew me in 7 years ago. It's a good letter. Hopefully you can have that prepared to
Yep.
submit again in the future. Thank you. Marine Department report. I read in the newspaper, sounded like extensive damage at the town pier from the storm. Anybody have any comments? Would like to discuss anything about that? Not seeing any representation. We'll move on to natural resources report. Ms. Riley.
Hi, good evening. So we also had a little bit of storm damage. We had some expected flooding that happened down at Brant Point, and I think the water came up high enough to get our heat trace tape that we have on our pipes that come from our freshwater pipes that come from underground up into the building, even though they're insulated. So I think with the power out and the seawater, I think we have some frozen pipes. And so as a result, we don't have any fresh water right now, which is kind of making business as usual difficult until we figure out exactly what's going on with everything. So I think DPW is a little bit backed up, so it's just gonna take a little bit of time. So we're just kind of holding tight and doing what we can without that fresh water. We use it to prime our pumps to get seawater in. We use it to clean everything. Obviously, it's for the indoor plumbing too, so it's a little rustic down there right now. But we do have heat, so that's good. Other news, this time of year where we're just really having a lot of meetings and coordinating our summer projects, making plans, trying to secure funding for everything that we're trying to accomplish. So in other news, the commercial license renewals should be going out the end of this week or early next week. And then let me just switch my screen real quick. I think last time I talked to you guys about the Sacajah Pond project. So an expression of interest was submitted for the MVP grant, and it will allow basically our department to gain feedback about the project to see if we will even qualify before we put a lot of effort into writing the grant. The project is supposed to be a 2-year project. So the first year will be about getting engineered plans and estimating project costs and permitting. And then the second year would be installation. In addition to that, a notice of intent was filed for the potential placement of the benthic barriers to try to manage the widgeon grass that I talked to you about last week or 2 weeks ago in the recreational area of the pond adjacent to the Quidnet Village area. And based on some initial feedback, it was to be continued, and we need to put some further information together if the project is going to continue. Some of our staff met with the DMF last week via Zoom to go over the Shimo restoration project because it's in prohibited waters now. And we've been taking monthly samples at the site, and we're going to continue doing this, but they think that the earliest that we could see a seasonal opening would be December of 2023, which means there's basically nothing that we're able to do with that oyster restoration site except add more shell, but we're not allowed to add any shell that has oysters on it, which, you kind of need to for your oyster reef to grow. So we're really evaluating what's going on in Shimo right now because there has been some sinking of the original shell that was deployed, and we're just trying to decide if that is really time and resource and effort best spent, and maybe possibly kind of focus in other areas or other restoration efforts, that might be a little bit more efficient and productive. So I think, let's see. I think that's all I have. We're supposed to bring clams in earlier this week, but we're just waiting on being able to pump some water in so that we can start conditioning stuff. But other than that, that's what I have for right now.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. I believe everybody must have received your draft letter for DMF.
Yes.
It looks like you're doing a wonderful job with that. And if there's anything in particular that you need assistance with filling in the blanks, let us know. Mr. Franzuto.
Tara, I didn't get your draft letter.
Okay.
Oh,
Here,
okay. I sent it out this afternoon. I'll double check and make sure you were on the email, David.
All right. Well, did Cecil get you those reports?
He did not. I did follow up, I did a follow-up email to your email though, so I don't want to bug him too much, but.
Well, I'll rough them up. I don't care.
Okay.
Board members, any comments, questions?
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Pace.
Chairman, I'm in the process of going through what you sent me, Tara, and I'm going to send you a bunch of suggestions. And I was wondering,
Great, thank you.
Is the heat on in your house? Are you just, feeling cold right now? Sorry.
I'm just running from place to place. It's just a function
Thank you,
of
ma'am.
time.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sidlowski, please.
we can just tell Mr. Franzuto that I forwarded the email to him, so Tara doesn't have to deal with that. It's just the letters at the very bottom of it, so you got to scroll down.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Bossy.
I didn't see, Tara, any mention of clamming in there. And I don't know if that was intentional, if you were trying to deal with the dollar crop or with the scallops, or if it was just left out. I just I missed that clamming in the summer.
Yeah, I think it was to be developed a little bit more in that section. I think in general, the closures are related to clamming, and I will clarify that so that we're very clear about that. The summertime closures are affecting, the clams.
Thanks.
Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, Tara, I did get your email. It must have been while I was taking my nap.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Andrews?
I don't have anything useful to add, but it's a great letter, and I'm so grateful that you're putting it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Any other discussion on natural resources report? Public comment for natural resources or marine department? Not seeing or hearing any. Old business. Ted Lambrecht's oyster lease. The review of the recommendation letter to the select board. I'd like to thank Mr. Brace for putting this together. To me, it looks absolutely spot on, covers all the bases. I'll accept any comments, revisions from the board. Mr. Sidlowski.
Yes, first I'd like to say wonderful letter. And I did get to watch the meeting, and I agree with the decisions of the board. I do have a little problem, Peter, with the first paragraph where it says after the January 5th select board meeting during revocation, and then it says it had been our board's intent to simply recommend. It could imply to somebody that we talked about this before the meeting on the 18th. As I read it at first, it was we had an intention after the meeting. So I would rather if it said something like, as reflected in the minutes of the meeting, our board had initially considered outright revocation of the lease. I just felt
Okay.
that when we talk about all these public meeting things, I didn't want to go there, and I felt it could be misread, and I don't want to. I didn't want to do that. And then the other thing was where it said that well, it's up to you, but I thought it was a little strong to say that it angered the board, forced us to stick. It makes us sound a little bit like we reacted emotionally as opposed to the facts. And if we could just layer it down to we were upset or we were inclined, those are the only things I had. But I thought otherwise it was a really good letter.
Okay.
I would actually agree with Mr. Sadowski. Those are points well taken. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, I'm just sort of making the changes now as you guys are commenting.
All right, Mr. Bossy.
Yeah, I agree with what Tom had said, and I think there was a little too much preamble and too much discussion about what has gone on. Again, I'm usually short and to the point, and there was a section in there that said we asked Mr. Carlson was there a plan for what happens in the event of a revocation, and he said yes, there is a plan. And he talked, and that's in there, that's in the letter, and I would almost limit it to that. And our recommendation is that we revoke, but after discussion, we agree he should have 90 days to do it. And then we decide that if he couldn't transfer the license, that came first, and that's all in there. That I would almost focus it down just to the last paragraph or two, if I was to edit it. I just think we have a little too much history, too much of what we all went through. The select board went through that with us after us. And they asked us for a recommendation, and I hate to keep revisiting things and then putting our recommendation at the bottom of it. I would just shorten it down and focus more on those last two paragraphs. That's my take.
Thank you.
Well
Mr.
taken. It's well taken. I just think it's crucial that it seemed like they didn't hear us at the January 5th meeting. I think it's crucial that they understand that Ted was ordered by the Natural Resources Department to cease and desist. He was ordered to take his cages out, and that's it. I'll take the word period out. That's a little, fancy language, I guess, for the select board. I was getting a little worked up, but I think it's important the select board know that he was supposed to only take the cages out of the water. And even though Ted said in the meeting, our meeting on the 18th, that, he mentioned at several meetings that he was doing this stuff that he wasn't supposed to be doing. It doesn't matter whether he told us he was doing those things. It matters that he was told not to do them in the first place, and he went ahead and did them anyway. And I thought that the select board needs to know where we're coming from, and we are. And the reason that I mentioned that we were angered and felt betrayed is that we worked with him, and we've told the select board that, but he just went ahead and did it anyway. And I'm trying to make the point on our behalf, on the board's behalf, that it doesn't seem like enforcement is happening. And I wanted to get that point across to the select board, but then I wanted them to understand that, we're not a mean, horrible, terrible board. We're trying to work with Ted. So we've come up with this solution. So I don't think we should cut it all down to just one paragraph. I think we should, I'll shorten the story but I think it's important that the select board know that he was told to cease and desist. And instead of doing that, he took stuff out of the water. He cleaned some of it off. He put seed in it, put it back in the water, and he put new cages in the water with seed in it. All of that was contrary to what he was told to do. And that's why, I put in the beginning part that Mr. Sadlowski wants me to change, that sort of the preamble, this is, we were all thinking, we just want to re-recommend, and he doesn't deserve, whatever. That's why I wanted them to know what we were thinking. And I think it's important that they know that, because they're all expecting us to come back with something. Erica Mooney emailed me this morning asking me where we were and what we were doing. And I told her I'd written a letter and we were going to be reviewing it tonight, and tomorrow I would be putting it back together and sending it to her. So I think they want to hear from us. And I think it's important that.
Peter, I agree. And I do not think you shouldn't tell them what we're thinking. I just want you to place the thinking at the meeting. That's my only comment is get it
Yeah.
to the meeting. Say what you want about whatever he's thinking. That's fine. I just want him to think that we implied that somewhere between their meeting and our meeting, we had made up our minds, because we hadn't met. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I'm the writer, so I don't see what other people see with their own eyes. So I'll make that change. I just think it's our opportunity to tell the selectmen, look, he was told to do something and he didn't do it. And the Natural Resources Department and this board are trying to enforce the town regulations. And the town needs to do that. And short of us saying, look, select board, you're letting him get away with it. So you put that information there so they can see it. And then we pull back and we say, but, we worked with Mr. Lambrecht and we've come up with a solution that'll work. I just thought that they should know. I could definitely shorten all of that, but I just didn't want to have a straight recommendation without that they may not understand, or that they may call us back in and saying, what is this? And here we are going on for another couple of weeks. And it's been 2 years that we've been working on this or more. So.
Mr. Bossy, did you have something to add?
I think, yes, and I understand and I agree that we need to give them our thought process. I think what really stopped me was the first paragraph. It quite frankly confused me, and we disagree with the select board. There might be a hybrid solution to Mr. Lambrecht's situation, when in fact we came up with a hybrid solution to Mr. Lambrecht's situation. So I really would like to see the first paragraph. Yes, the rest where it explains our thought process. That's okay, because I agree 100% with what you just said, Peter. I just feel like that maybe it's just the first paragraph. It's just
okay.
It just confused me. I'd also like, Mr. Chairman, I see Dan's got his hand up. I'm not sure if he.
All right, Mr. Prong.
I have one question. I wish Jeff Carlson was here. Did he remove all the previous stuff that was on the bottom before he put any seed back in the water? Because the way I read everything and thought we had all agreed that under no circumstances were there to be anything placed back into the water until all that garbage was removed from the bottom of the harbor, satisfactory to the Natural Resource Department. That's my question. Was it all removed before we put anything in? If it wasn't, then I got a big problem with it. If it was, that's a different story. So that's my question. And if anybody has an answer.
Mr. Bossy.
We did establish, I think Mr. Carlson established that firmly, that all of the equipment was not removed.
All right.
And
then,
indeed, some of it was cleaned up and put back in with new seed.
Then I got a problem with that.
Right. And that is
That
why we voted the way we did.
That was a big sticking point that we had all agreed on. No circumstances was there anything going in the water until everything was removed. I offered to go up there and be a platform, you know, to put all the stuff on, to move it out of there. And it wasn't removed, so I don't know. I'm not too happy about that.
Thank you, Mr. Pronk. Understand. Mr. Brace, good answers to Mr. Bossy and Mr. Sidlowski. It's nice to have the back and forth, especially we share your emotion completely, Mr. Brace, but you having to review this and put it in writing, and the length of time we've spent on this issue, I understand it completely, and I'd like for you to keep that emotion in there. I think you're right, after listening to your rebuttal, that you know, a bit of a recap is necessary. We've been misunderstood by the select board. Maybe not enough information was given to begin with, and that's why so many extensions were given after us giving extensions. Ms. Riley had a letter as well that was strong and powerful to the point. So I give you my blessing on however you finalize this letter. Revising the first paragraph sounds like could be in order, but as I said, when you sent the letter out, I was quite impressed with it. So your time involved in this, your effort, your energy is very appreciated by the entire board, and we really, you know, couldn't do it without you. So I think getting the point across to the select board is well deserved. Thank you. Any other?
Andy, can I butt in?
Mr. Pront?
I'd like something to be written in that letter about what I was just talking about, because that's a big point.
Yeah, he does cover that in the
All right, I skimmed through it real quick this afternoon when I got home from work, but that's
But Dan,
that throws. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
I'm just going to read the section, okay?
Yep.
So Lambert was ordered by the NRD to remove his oyster gear from the harbor, period. I'll remove that. It's a little too wordy. Instead, apparently using time afforded him by several extensions, Mr. Lambert removed some of his cages from the harbor, cleaned some of them, and returned them to the harbor with oyster seed in them. Additionally, he put new cages with oyster seed in them into the harbor. That Mr. Lambert did not have all of his gear removed from Nantucket Harbor by the select board's deadline of December 8th, 2021, and that Mr. Lambert continued to work his lease contract contrary to the NRD's stop work order, angered our board, forcing us to stick with our original recommendation of revocation. Now I'm going to rework that, but further, we were frustrated that at its January 5 meeting, the select board did not support ours and the NRD's efforts to enforce the town's aquaculture lease regulations. So, you know, that right there, minus the angered part and the words that come after it, I think says what we want to say without saying angered. And then I just wanted to say that I try really hard to write one-page letters, you know, that are maybe no more than 3, maybe 4 paragraphs long, so that we don't just drag on, get to the point, say what we got to say, and let that be it. But I just think that the issue is too important to let an opportunity go by where we can say as a board, you know, the select board kind of let us down. You didn't, if you'd supported us, we wouldn't be here, you know. But in the end, we came up with a solution that looks like it'll work out for everybody. If the transfer happens, you know, who knows? But anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Brace. Mr. Prong, Mr. Bossy, please.
I was just wondering what our time frame is on this, Peter, because it sounds you had made some sounds that it was getting kind of urgent to get a response out, and I don't, or can this wait 2 more weeks? You've done this for us before. We've been through this. We all are on the same page with this. We've just been talking about some of your words. I, for one, am happy with what you come up with, what you will come up with, because as I say, you've done it before. We're all on the same page on this. It's really just organizing the words the way you see fit. Is there a reason to wait 2 more weeks? I guess I'm generally asking the board.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I can email Erica tomorrow and say that, we would like another 2 weeks to do this. I'm the process goes on and on and on.
I'm in favor of getting it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
but I can test the waters and ask Erica, can we have another 2 weeks? And I can ask her and see what she says, and then I can email everybody and say she says no, or the fact that she's bugging me made me think that she wanted a resolution before the next meeting, or I don't know, but then on the other side of the all right, go ahead,
Mr. Brace. Well, actually, the chairman of the select board called me the day after their meeting when they remanded it back to us, and so it seemed as though he wanted to know what our decision was right after our last meeting, and I've actually been kind of staying tuned to see if they were bringing it up, but of course our letter needs to come to them. Would be my suggestion. We try to hash this out tonight and get it out diligently. Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, I agree with Dave Bossy and you, Mr. Chairman, that this thing needs to go out. I don't think we need to hash it over. I think what Peter comes up with and what he has come up with is fine. Actually, to be honest, I was surprised that it was on our agenda. I thought the letter would have gone out or had gone out, but I think we should resolve this tonight and get the letter to the selectmen, tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay, Mr. Sidlowski, please.
I'm very comfortable with whatever Peter comes up with. He knows what we want. He'll make it. So he can edit it and send it out as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you,
Mr.
Tom.
Chairman.
Peter. Just a second, Mr. Brace.
To avoid the open meeting law problems, I can individually email it to each of you when I'm done with it, so that you can see it and tell me what needs to be changed, and then it can be changed that way. That way we won't be having a meeting, because it'll be between you and me and Dave, me and Dave F, me and Tom. Whoever wants to look at it can let me know, and then I will send it to you so that we are absolutely sure. But that will be in a space of 48 hours. So between now and say Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Brace. Ms. Andrews, please.
Oh, I was going to agree that I thought it should go out quickly. I mean, our decision's already been reported in the newspaper, and I think our recommendations should get to the select board in a timely manner. And I'm also confident that Peter will do right by us. So I would vote to send it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Brace, you have the gist of how you'll be lightly revising this. All right.
I'm sure. Yep, I'm sure. And then you guys will tell me if I didn't do it. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Pronk, I'd just like to let you know that it was mentioned again, so it is in the minutes that you offered to help Mr. Lambrecht removing that gear. And just wanted to let you know that. Thanks, Dan.
Yep, right on.
Shall we take a vote on the letter?
Sure.
I'll make that motion. Do we
Second.
accept what
I'll
Peter,
second
we
it.
accept the modifications that Peter offers us, subject to his review? He said, to the review he suggested.
Okay, Ms. Andrews, you want to second that?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Bossy has made the motion to accept the letter as revised by Mr. Brace to be sent out within the next couple of days to the select board. Ms. Andrews has seconded that. All in favor, Mr. Pronk,
Aye.
Mr. Sidlowski,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Mr. Brace.
Aye.
The chair votes aye.
Can I just say one more thing?
Please.
Mr. Pronk, at the January 5 meeting, when we all got those of us that were there, like when we got a chance to speak, I did, mention to the select board that you had offered to help him remove his cages and that he declined. So they did hear us on that.
I appreciate that, Peter. Thank you.
Of course. Of course.
Next in old business, excessive sand and scallops dredging plan. I think dredging plan may be, it's in the works. It's mentioned in Ms. Riley's letter. Any updates? Do you know where that may be on Mr. Carlson's desk, Tara?
The dredging plan?
Yeah, I'm
Is that
just
what you're
curious
talking
if you might know of any progress being made.
I don't have an update on that, but I will get it for you for the next meeting if he's not available.
All right. Do you think there's a possibility where is Vince Murphy he's in your office, correct? Is
Yes, Vince is in our office too.
I'm just hoping there's some type of coordination with harbor dredging ideas, possibly, being coordinated with coastal resiliency ideas.
Yeah.
Hopefully all.
We had a staff. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
We did have a staff meeting on the 20th of January, and we did talk about the sediment and dredging project. It's basically a transport study that's going to cost $550,000. And that's going to hopefully develop like a dredge plan based on the sediment study. But that's all that he relayed to us on that information.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all I have. So I will get an update for you on that.
Where does that funding come from? Do you know? For the study?
I'm not sure if that's something that is out to bid or if it's something that's already procured. I mean, along with that same conversation, we were talking about the harbor watershed study, which is like $900,000, and the harbor plan is also out to bid. So I'll get some clarification on that just to see what we're doing, where we are with that.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Board members? Discussion? Not seeing or hearing any. We'll move to health of the harbors, excessive lawn fertilizer use, update discussion, new information. We also have discussion on fertilizer ban articles and new business. So, Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, the fertilizer group met for the first time in 3 years. And they did agree, along with the Natural Resources Department and the Health Department, to solicit additional help from the NP and EDC to revitalize the interest in this, and it's moving forward. But everybody, I don't want to say readily, but everybody agrees that it had died a quiet death, and now it's being revitalized. So they have met, and they are working with the MP and DC.
All right.
And Mr. Chairman, weren't you at that meeting?
NP and EDC.
No, I didn't know if you had been or at the Board of Health meeting.
No, not the Board of Health.
I thought you were there.
I was following along with NP and EDC and also the Planning Board. And the Nantucket Shellfish Association will be taking this up for discussion through their Fishermen's Council at a meeting February 19th. I believe it's maybe 9 or 10 in the morning. I'll have an update on that at our next meeting, and you could also look up on NSA's website when that meeting is. Miss Riley may know. I believe you'll be speaking there, Tara.
Yes, I have down, it is from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Matticat Admiralty Club
Yes, okay.
on the 19th.
That happens to be the first Saturday of the school vacation week, which may be a hindrance for myself, but they would love to have some participation from SHAB at this Shellfish Association meeting, looking for ideas to support fertilizer ban articles, among some other discussion, I believe. Any other comments from the board? Excessive fertilizer use?
Yes,
Mr. Brace?
Mr. Franzuto, did Joe Manella attend that Board of Health meeting?
To be honest, Peter, I don't know. I don't know Mr. Manella, but so I don't know if he was there. I could certainly find out, but
No, it's all right. Just wondering.
yeah, it's a good point, Peter.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this issue? Moving forward, FDA shellfish taking prohibition in mooring fields. Ms. Riley sent us out this draft letter, very lengthy, well-informed. Obviously has more work to be done, but at least you've stated just about all the blanks that need to be filled. You have written there so that they are easily identified. Looks like a wonderful job to me. Any discussion on this? Keep up the good work with that, Tara. Water quality testing, which was also mentioned in that letter as well. Anything new board members would like to discuss? Not seeing or hearing any new business, fertilizer ban articles. Would anybody like to discuss more on these? As I said, if any board members can go to that, the meeting held by the NSA, the more the merrier. They're looking for ideas and support. And they would love to have, collaboration between the boards, which I've missed a couple of meetings. I attended the last one, and they're really looking forward to creating a voice on this discussion. Moving forward, Chris Fuller's video showing the Lyngbia algae in the harbor. Everybody get a chance to take a look at that. We didn't get a chance to talk about this at the last meeting, being filled up with time on the oyster lease. Anybody have any comments or discussion they'd like to add? I think it was a very interesting video. I was actually surprised at how much eelgrass was in the video. So he picked some good areas to go through, but also the Lyngbia is quite apparent.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Brace.
Or Dave had his hand up first.
All right, Mr.
No,
Franzuto first.
Go ahead, Peter.
Mr.
No, I
Brace.
was just gonna say somehow Mr. Fuller's video should find its way to the Board of Health and to the NP and EDC.
I agree. In following NP and EDC and planning board, I'm kind of ashamed in a way that it's not approached more aggressively. It is on their agenda to talk about again. I believe NP and EDC's next meeting is February 8th. They backed it up a couple of weeks. So if board members could take a look and clarify that and possibly attend. Because it sounds like the email that we received about the town of Nantucket already having some strength in a way to increase fertilizer regulations beyond what we have now. Sounds like this is in the past, whether it was started in 2012, correct me if I'm wrong, and in 2019, Health Department and Natural Resources wanted to see this move forward, and the next step was NP and EDC recommending to the state, and sounds like it didn't go any further. If anybody is able to describe that any better than I just did, I welcome that to take place. Ms. Riley, do you familiar with what was done in the past and what the town of Nantucket's capabilities are?
I'm not really 100% sure, so if somebody else wants to speak to that, they can.
All right, Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, to the best of my understanding, it never went to the NP and EDC to ask for their assistance in moving it forward to the state or whatever. Back to the Limbia question, if I may, before I forget. Tara, I'm asking, I have no idea, does cold water kill that stuff, or does it live through the winter?
I think it lives through the winter. It definitely can lift and move around during the winter storms. And so that's why you don't see it as much in the spring. But if it does have an opportunity to kind of stay in place, then it will persist.
Okay. I understand. All right.
I'd like to encourage any and all board members to try to attend the next NP and EDC meeting. If they're going to continue to discuss fertilizer, it would probably be wise if one of us or all of us are able to show support for strengthening fertilizer regulations, if not an all-out ban. Any more discussion?
Well, we should probably try and, put that bug in Mr. Manella's ear, if he's not already planning to go.
Okay. It was aside from his article, there was also discussion on this the previous information. And so it was really quite interesting, and I'm not sure how the board feels, how the NP and EDC feels about taking this on full bore. I probably would have been nice if we were ahead of the game and already had a letter prepared and sent to them to express our support. But if anybody can be there in person, I think that it would be helpful. There were quite a few speakers on it, and it seems to be an issue that's taking, it's making a foothold, and we need to run with the momentum. More acknowledgement needs to be had throughout town and town boards and commissions that fertilizer is a problem. And there ought to be a measurable difference if we do a measurable amount in regulating it and or banning it.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brace,
do we know if this is a meeting you can attend actually in person, or is it a Zoom meeting?
it's Zoom.
Okay. On February 8th?
Yes.
Okay. I'll try and
Please.
be there.
All right. Clarify that, everybody, if you would. Any more discussion? We kind of jumped back and forth there between fertilizer and Chris Fuller's video. Coastal Resilience Advisory Board. Do we have an update, Mr. Brace?
No, I don't have anything really to tell you about. I mean, let's see. When did we last met? Hold on, let me see when I last met. We may have already talked about this. 18th. No, we met on the 11th, and so I already updated you guys.
Okay.
So I think our next meeting it might actually be on February 8th. So, but it'll be 10 in the morning. So,
All right.
so no report.
Thank you, Mr. Brace. Any public questions or comment? On any topic in tonight's meeting? Not seeing or hearing anything board members are thinking of they'd like to have added to the agenda for our next meeting. Our next meetings are February 15th and March 1st. Anytime between now and the Thursday before next February 15th. Please reach out to Peter and I. If there's nothing else for tonight's meeting, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Well, I'll
So
make
moved,
that
Mr.
motion.
Chairman.
Yeah,
One at a time.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Pronk has motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Mr. Bossy has seconded the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, Mr. Sidlowski,
Aye.
Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Ms. Andrews.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful next couple of weeks.